together unto Jesus, and told him all things, both what they had done and what they had taught. And he said unto them, Come ye yourselves apart into a desert place, and rest a while, for there were many coming and going, and they had no leisure so much as to eat. And they departed into a desert place by the ship privately, and the people saw them departing, and many knew him, and ran foot thither out of all cities, and went out and outwent them, and came together unto him. And Jesus, when he had come, saw much people, and was moved with compassion toward them, because they were as sheep not having a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. And when the day was now far spent, his disciples came to him and said, This is a desert place, and now the time is far spent. Send them away, that they may go into the country round about and into the villages, and buy themselves bread, for they have nothing to eat. And he said unto them, Give ye them to eat. And they said unto him, Shall we go and buy 200 pennies worth of bread, and give them to eat? He said unto them, How many loaves have ye? Go and see. And when they knew, they said, say, 5 and 2 fishes. I want to talk for just a little while from a subject of send them away. I'm going to talk about send them away. I do seek and solicit your prayer. This in itself was by no means a minor miracle that was performed by Jesus. In fact, it was a pivotal time. And the crowd was moved by what they had seen, heard, and experienced with Jesus. Jesus had great compassion on the people that had ran from the villages because he recognized that there was a need in their lives. And it must have been a wonderful sight to see how the crowd was rushing forward for the purpose of having a glimpse of Jesus. Jesus had compassion on them. He taught them. He preached to them. He took out time to minister to their utmost needs. Can I tell you this afternoon that that was not his plan? The whole plan was peace, quiet, and solitude. Jesus was attempting to remove himself from the hustle and the bustle of the crowd. He was attempting to move himself away from the thronging crowd, that he may have some personal and private moments with the disciples. I have to assume that ministry must have been a burden. I have to assume that ministry must have been a chore. I would have to assume that his physical side was beginning to receive pain as a result of the constant agony of ministry. I said last evening, and I'll say briefly today, that ministry can be a burden. Oh yeah, it can be a blessing, but surely it can be a burden. And he teaches us in this lesson that there are times that we need to pull ourselves away. There has to be some balance. There has to be some rest. There has to be some relaxation. There has to be some quietness, some peace, some stillness. In fact, if you want to hear from God and you desire to know who God is, there's going to come a time that you will need personal time with God. You cannot always hear his voice in the crowd. Sometimes you have to remove yourself in order to hear a word from the Lord. So it is Jesus and his disciples, according to Mark's gospel, their focus was a need for quietness. Their objective was an opportunity for stillness. They wanted peace. But notice in the text, when they got to the lonely place, when they got to the quiet place, when they got to the area that was to be a personal area of retreat, the crowd had already got there. And there were thousands of people that were lonely, that was looking to hear a word from the Lord. And this is encouraging, brother preachers, pastors, because it would be wonderful if I drove up on the church ground on Sunday and found hundreds and thousands of people